Hi, I'm Kay of Kay's Creative Home. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'd like to share another DIY for Christmas in July. Let's get started. So today I'd like to share an icicle ornament that I made. My inspiration piece was from Pottery Barn, and I'll insert the picture here. And I have some jewelry beads, and I thought, I think I can make that. So I went to my stash and grabbed my beads, and the first one I tried using these round beads here. And then I wasn't totally happy with that, so I tried these faceted beads next. So I ended up making two styles of icicle ornaments, and I made a total of 6. So let me show you what I did. So here are some size 10 glass crystal beads I got at Hobby Lobby years ago, and you can probably still catch these when they have a 50% off day. And then I have this silver floral wire. It is gauge 26, so that's the size of the wire. And I believe I got this at Michael's at a sale, off-season sale, and I think I paid about 50 cents for it. And so this is the first icicle I made using these round beads. And if you're hanging there with me, I'm going to show you how I made them. And then I'll show you how I made some using a faceted bead. So I started by unraveling some of this wire. My tray I'm using is about 16 inches long, I believe, 14 to 16 inches long. And so I use that to kind of measure out 2 lengths of the wire. And this tray, this is a tray and a placemat. The dark green is a placemat. Both were purchased at Dollar Tree years ago. So I've measured out my wire, and I'm going to cut it using my wire cutters. And I bought in the big wire cutters for these. I got to pull out some of my little ones. And so we're going to get started. First thing I'm doing is picking up beads onto this wire. Now this is a method I use for making jewelry. When I first watched someone do this, I'm like, how are they doing that? And I tried, and it's like, it's a thing where you just kind of got to get your rhythm. And it took me a little bit, time to do this, because I thought I would never be able to swoop up all these beads. I probably got enough swooped up in about 15 to 20 minutes just watching a movie. I filled up this entire length of wire. Might have filled up the second one too. So, you just kind of take the wire and place it into the bead, into that opening, and you kind of push and lift at the same time so that once you get it, it doesn't fall off. So I've got all my wire, I've got all my beads on the wire, and what I'm going to do is just fold down one end so they don't come falling off, and I'm going to start working with the other end. So my fingers are kind of in the way. I'm trying to show you as much as possible. I take one bead and fold the wire back on it, and I'm going to twist the wire underneath that bead so that that bead ends up sitting inside of a little loop. And this again is going to keep that bead from, keep all the beads from rolling off the end while I'm working on the other side. So if you enjoy DIY videos, especially for making Christmas ornaments, don't forget to give this a thumbs up and share it with friends. So the next thing I'm going to do is fold down the end so my beads don't come flying off this end. I'm going to make a little circle, folding it back, and then I'm going to take that piece of wire at the end and just wrap it around here so that I've made a circle and I've kind of enclosed it. Now what I forgot to say is when you're stranding these beads, don't fill the strand up completely, because as you start working with them, the beads will kind of push down. So you got to have a little bit of space left on the wire for those beads to be able to move a little bit. It's just that, they don't give. So as you start shaping this wire, they got to have some space to kind of move to. So I've twisted that around. I'm going to get it as flat against this other wire as possible. That's one thing you really want to watch out for when working with wire. You don't want that last little stem of wire sticking off so that you're stabbing your fingers. So get that down flat as you can. I have a jewelry tool that I usually use. I'm going to get that unpacked one day, but right now I'm going to take my finger and just keep pressing it until I get it flat. So I'm going to kind of hold this wire upright so that the beads kind of fall down toward that loop I just made. Because remember I have some spacing in this wire so that the beads can move as I shape them. And if you're not a family member, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you'll be notified when I release new videos. I'm doing 2 a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and I will be doing more ornaments for Christmas in July. So as you can see, what I'm starting to do is just make circles. And I'm pushing these beads down as I go so that I don't end up with a gap, because I do have some spacing in there. And I'm just going round and round and round. And that will give us the shape of this little icicle. It's going to look like a loose slinky. For those of you who remember a slinky. When we finish. And I'm just going to continue to go round and round trying to shape it as best I can. And you can always go back and shape it some more. And so when I get down to the end, I'm going to leave some of it hanging down. The first thing I'm going to do is bend that wire back against that last bead and wrap it around it. End up cutting off all the extra wire. And now I'm just trying to shape it a little bit more. And so that's my ornament. So I've made 3. You can see the first one I showed you has a really tight curl to it. That's the one furthest to the right. And then the second one has a looser curl to it. And the third has a really wide curl to it, just to show you how you can make these look very different just by making the curl looser. And so now we want to move on to the faceted beads, and I'm going to do a similar technique with those. So I've already got them on the wire. I'm using the same 26 gauge wire, and I'm going to do the same process basically. I'm starting by locking that first bead on. I've twisted that and the end of the wire back on it. And because these beads are bigger, I can actually slide the next beads up to cover that twisted wire. So now I've got my loop. I'm wrapping the wire around the first bead again, so I made my loop. And now I'm going to start that circular motion to make the extended icicle. So I'm doing that first. This one I'm not doing it smoothly. I'm just kind of bunching it up a little bit more. And I'm actually going to use some hot glue to hold these top rounds together. So I'm going to do about 3 or 4 rounds using glue in between. And they're not neat rounds. I'm going in and out and kind of over and under and that type of thing. So I get it to be a little more bulky and to have some shape. So I'm going to do that first. And now I'm going to continue my circles all the way down like I did before. But because these beads are larger, you can, see these circles a lot clearer. So I'm just going to keep wrapping round and round until I get down to the bottom, making it about the length that I want it to be. And I'm just, going by eye, how it looks. I'm not measuring them out. But I am really liking how this is turning out. So I've got it the length I want. I'm going to take these huge wire cutters and clip the end. And now I'm going to take that piece of wire at the end and wrap it around the very last bead again. Going round and round and underneath it. You can see how it looks underneath there. And again, just trying to get it as flat up against that other wire as possible so that I'm not stabbing myself later on. Getting that wire flat is probably the hardest part of the whole DIY. So here it is. So using this little tabletop tree, I want to show you that the first icicles I made using the round beads. Here's one, and it's got a really tight, I did really tight circles with it. Here's the second. And you can see the circles on this one are a little looser. And here's the third. With that one, you can see the circles are really big. So once I did them, I decided I like these two better. This is my favorite. These are pretty much the same. These are the faceted beads. I am in love with these. They're not exactly like the ones from they're not exactly like the ones from Pottery Barn, but I really love how they turned out. So which ones do you like the best? These. I think I'm gonna turn the light down a little bit, yeah. So do you like these? You won't get the glitter now, but or these. And I guess it's how you decide to use them, because these are nice and like thin. They don't take up a lot of space, but these are a lot thicker. All right, I thank you for spending this time with me, and I'll be talking with you again real soon.